guys look unreal.
She stood just over 5 feet in a world that demanded 6.
After the show, Virginie and Carl would say, okay, take your shoes because no one else is ever going to wear these, so you can keep them.
She stepped back from fashion for 7 years at the height of her fame. And somehow, every single model today is still trying to look exactly like her. This is Devon Aoki, the girl who broke every rule fashion had and became the blueprint everyone copies. When Karl Lagerfeld first saw her, insiders doubted she'd last a season. Too short, wrong look, wouldn't last a year. Then, he made her close Chanel's biggest show. When she stepped away in 2009 to start a family, everyone said her career was over. Then she came back at 40, fronting campaigns for Acne Studios, American Vogue, and Tommy Hilfiger, bigger jobs than models half her age. From a teenager nobody expected to succeed to the face that defined Y2K style, Devon didn't just model clothes. She created the exact looks that TikTokers recreate today, that designers reference every season, that your favorite celebrities are trying to copy right now. This is how fashion's biggest outsider became its permanent insider, how the exception became the rule, how one face changed everything. Devon Aoki's discovery reads like fashion fiction, except it actually happened. 1995, she's 13 years old, backstage at a Rancid Punk concert in New York. Not a modeling convention, not a mall scouting event, a punk show. She had backstage passes, caught someone's eye, and ended up shooting for Interview magazine.
Are you going back to school, or have you taken time off now?
I took today off school just for the shows and everything, but tomorrow, which is Tuesday, I'm going back the rest of the week.
This wasn't luck. This was exactly what fashion needed in the late 90s. Authentic subcultural credibility. Her father was Rocky Aoki, the founder of Benihana.
Yes, your father, you have a famous father. Your father's, is this right, Rocky Aoki, who's the guy who created the Benihana restaurant chain.
Yeah.
Her mother, Pamela Hilberger, designed jewelry. Mixed heritage, creative family, discovered at a punk concert. Devon represented everything fashion wanted to seem connected to. Real edge, not manufactured. Kate Moss saw something in this teenager and personally introduced her to Storm Model Management. Not through an agent, not through a casting, one model recognizing another's potential and making it happen. The punk concert origin mattered because fashion in 1997 was desperate for authenticity. Grunge had just happened, heroin chic was the aesthetic, and suddenly, this mixed-race Benihana heiress who hung out at hardcore shows appeared. She wasn't trying to be edgy. She just was. Designers could smell the difference between real and performed rebellion, and Devon was unmistakably real. Within months of that first Interview magazine shoot, Devon was walking shows. Not small shows, not building her portfolio, she went straight to the top. Balenciaga, Marc Jacobs, Comme des Garçons. Designers who'd never book an unknown teenager were fighting to get her on their runways. She brought something they couldn't manufacture. Genuine connection to youth culture that fashion desperately wanted to capture. The timing was perfect. Fashion was shifting from the polished supermodel era of the early 90s toward something raw. Devon embodied that shift. She was young enough to be authentic to youth culture, but sophisticated enough to handle haute couture. She could wear a ball gown without looking like she was playing dress-up, and streetwear without looking like she was slumming. By the time she hit her first runway, the story was already perfect. The fashion industry loves a discovery narrative, but Devon's had everything: youth, rebellion, connections, authenticity. She entered fashion not as someone trying to break in, but as someone fashion needed to prove it still understood what was happening outside its bubble. Devon Aoki stood about 5'5", sometimes listed as 5'6", depending on the source. In a world where models under 5'9" were told to go home, she was catastrophically short. Add her Japanese, German, and English heritage to the equation. Almond eyes, full lips, and she violated every established rule about what a high-fashion model should be. She knew it too. Years later, she'd tell The Independent, "I always thought models had to fit a certain mold. I never thought I had what it takes. I'm too small and my look's pretty weird. I don't fit the status quo." Then Karl Lagerfeld saw her. This is where the story turns. Devon's very first runway trip, she becomes Lagerfeld's Chanel muse. Not after years of proving herself, not after growing another 6 inches. Immediately, the most powerful man in fashion looked at everything Devon wasn't supposed to be and decided that was precisely what fashion needed to become. By 16, she's closing Chanel's Fall-Winter 1999 Haute Couture show. The bride, the finale, the most important position in the most important show for the most important house. Every 6-foot Eastern European model is watching this teenager who shouldn't even be there, taking the spot they'd trained their whole careers for. What Lagerfeld understood, what Devon embodied, was that memorable beats conventional. Every other model that season looked like every other model. Devon looked like Devon. You couldn't mistake her for anyone else. In an industry built on conformity pretending to celebrate individuality, she was actually individual. Her success didn't just open doors for her, it demolished the entire doorframe. After Devon, agencies started signing shorter models, mixed-race faces, unconventional beauty. They suddenly became enlightened. Number. Karl Lagerfeld proved that different could be more valuable than perfect. The industry's physical requirements, rigid for decades, cracked because one teenager was too interesting to ignore. Between 2000 and 2002, Devon Aoki created looks that would become permanently encoded in fashion's DNA. Not influenced fashion, not inspired trends. Created specific images that became the definitive visual language of an era that fashion still speaks today. Take the 2000 VH1 Vogue Fashion Awards. Devon shows up in a fringed top with ultra-low jeans. That exact silhouette, not similar, not inspired by, but that exact photo, now circulates on thousands of Instagram mood boards. Contemporary designers, from Acne Studios to new generation labels, often draw on those early 2000s Aoki images when describing their collections. Or consider Suki from Too Fast, Too Furious, filmed in 2002. Pink leather pants, layered tank tops, that specific combination of tough and sweet. 20 years later, that look has been reproduced in fashion editorials, Halloween costumes, TikTok recreations. It's not that people remember the character, they remember Devon in those clothes at that moment. What made these images permanent? Devon wasn't just wearing clothes. She was creating mythology. Each outfit existed in perfect harmony with her face, her proportions, her attitude. The baby tees worked because of her petite frame. The low-rise jeans worked because of her confidence. The mini skirts with combat boots worked because she could embody both innocence and rebellion simultaneously. Fashion magazines from this period read like style Bibles now. Devon in Moschino, that's how you mix prints. Devon in Mugler, that's how you do romantic punk. Devon in Versace, that's how you make luxury look accessible. Every image became a template. The Y2K revival that started in 2020 isn't actually reviving Y2K fashion. It's reviving Devon Aoki's specific interpretation of it. When young designers say they're inspired by early 2000s style, pull up their references. It's Devon's photos. When celebrities attempt Y2K looks, compare them to the originals. They're copying Devon's outfits. She didn't just wear the trends of 2000 to 2002. She created the images that would define how we remember them. Fashion doesn't copy Y2K. Fashion copies Devon Aoki's Y2K. The word muse gets thrown around fashion carelessly, but Devon Aoki actually was one. Not just a beautiful face designers liked to use. An integral part of their creative process. Someone whose absence would fundamentally change their work. Karl Lagerfeld didn't just book Devon for Chanel shows. He built collections around her. That 1999 Haute Couture finale wasn't designed then cast, it was designed for Devon. When Lagerfeld needed to communicate his vision of future beauty, he used Devon's face to say it. She wasn't wearing Chanel, she was Chanel. But the deepest relationship was with Jeremy Scott. Devon walked in his early shows as a teenager when he was just starting out. 2 decades later, she was still closing his Moschino collections. Scott calls her his baby muse forever, not professionally, but personally. Their creative relationship survived her marriage, 4 children, 7-year hiatus, and his move from independent designer to creative director at Moschino. In 2016, when Devon returned to the runway after 7 years, it was for Jeremy Scott's Moschino show in Los Angeles. He didn't need her for publicity. Models were lining up to walk for Moschino. He needed her because she was part of his creative language. Designing without Devon would be like writing without certain letters. This symbiosis created a new career template. Devon wasn't replaceable because she wasn't just modeling clothes. She was co-creating the vision. When she wore Versace, she helped define what Versace meant. When she closed Chanel, she helped establish what Chanel could become. Young models study Devon's career, trying to understand how to become essential rather than interchangeable. The answer isn't mysterious. She formed genuine creative partnerships where her presence changed the work itself. Designers didn't dress Devon, they created with Devon. The fashion industry continues to attempt to manufacture these relationships. Brands announce muses every season, but real muse relationships can't be contracted. They develop when a model's identity becomes inseparable from a designer's vision. Devon proved that being someone's everything could be more powerful than being everyone's something. In 2003, Devon Aoki did something that multiplied her influence far beyond fashion's reach. She played Suki in Too Fast, Too Furious. Not the lead, not even the second lead. A supporting character who races cars and wears pink leather pants. That role made her instantly recognizable to audiences who'd never opened a fashion magazine. The film gave millions of people their first look at Devon Aoki. Suddenly, teenagers who couldn't name Chanel or Versace knew Suki. They knew her style, those layered tank tops, the low-rise leather pants, that balance of sweet and dangerous. They wanted to look like her. Halloween saw Suki costumes, conventions filled with cosplayers. The pink leather pants alone sparked knockoffs. Fashion had been working for years to turn Devon into a household name. Hollywood managed it in one blockbuster, but here's what set this crossover apart from other model-to-actress attempts. Devon didn't abandon fashion for film. She brought fashion into film. Suki's wardrobe was straight out of the way Devon dressed at the time. The character felt like Devon placed inside a world of street races. The film created a feedback loop. Fashion people discovered her through the movie. Movie people discovered fashion through her. Influence bounced between both industries. Designers nodded to Suki in collections. Stylists borrowed Devon's runway looks for screen characters. 20 years later, Too Fast, Too Furious is still a reference point, not for the cars, but for Devon's outfits. Fashion students study Suki's wardrobe. TikTokers recreate it. The film ended up serving as an unplanned style archive, preserving her Y2K look at its peak. This mainstream multiplication reshaped how fashion thought about influence. Devon proved that cultural impact could happen outside Fashion Week. One film role reached more people than a decade of runway shows. Fashion learned that to truly matter, you had to live beyond fashion. In 2009, at the absolute peak of her career, Devon Aoki disappeared. Not dramatically, not with announcement. She married James Bailey, had her first child, and stepped away from the runway. For an industry that measures relevance in seasonal appearances, she committed career suicide. Except she didn't. What happened during Devon's absence reveals something fundamental about how fashion memory works. Instead of forgetting her, the industry became obsessed with her. Her old images started circulating more than when she was active. Designers referenced her past looks constantly. Young models studied her archives. Fashion blogs ran retrospectives asking where she went. The absence created scarcity. When everyone else was visible on Instagram, posting constantly, maintaining presence, Devon wasn't there. You couldn't see what she was wearing today. You could only look at what she wore before. Those images from 2000 to 2002 became more valuable because there weren't new ones replacing them. For 7 years, Devon focused on family life and kept a very low public profile. Rare appearances, no steady campaigns, no constant presence. Yet the industry kept talking about her anyway. Vogue ran features on her influence. Designers named her as inspiration for collections she wasn't even aware of. Then 2016, Jeremy Scott is showing Moschino Resort in Los Angeles. The music starts, models walk, and then Devon. No announcement, no publicity warning. She just appeared on the runway like she'd never left. The fashion internet exploded. The press widely covered the return. Models.com would later name her 2018 comeback of the year, acknowledging how monumental her return was after nearly a decade. The absence hadn't hurt her value. It multiplied it. Every appearance now was an event. When she walked for Jeremy Scott, it meant something. When she appeared in a campaign, people paid attention. She'd proven she didn't need fashion, so when she chose to participate, it mattered. Young models trying to build careers through constant visibility couldn't understand Devon's power. She'd discovered something counterintuitive. In an attention economy, absence can be the most valuable currency. Not everyone who disappears becomes more valuable, but if you're truly essential, vanishing proves it. In 2023, Devon Aoki appeared on the cover of American Vogue. She was 40 years old in an industry that typically discards models at 25. The issue was a Karl Lagerfeld tribute photographed by Annie Leibovitz. They could have chosen any of his muses from across decades. They chose Devon. That same year, Acne Studios cast her as the face of their spring-summer campaign, describing her as their Y2K dream babe, not a nostalgia play, not a throwback campaign. The current face of their current collection. Tommy Hilfiger booked her. British Vogue featured her. At an age when most models are teaching yoga or launching skincare lines, Devon was booking more prestigious jobs than she had in years. Jeremy Scott, who worked with her from his earliest shows and later at Moschino, still called her his baby muse forever. Even after leaving Moschino in 2023, he continued designing with her in mind. She walks slowly now, deliberately, each step carrying 25 years of fashion history. Younger models watch from backstage, trying to understand how someone their mother's age commands that attention. The 2023 Met Gala, Devon arrived in a custom Jeremy Scott look, a full mermaid moment. Not trying to look young, not trying to compete with 20-year-olds. Looking exactly like Devon Aoki at 40+. The fashion press took notice. Her presence drew as much coverage as many nominees. What allows Devon to remain relevant when fashion is allegedly obsessed with youth? She never became dated because she was never trying to be current. Her appeal wasn't about hitting trends at the right moment. It was about creating images so specific to her that they exist outside of time. When Acne Studios or Vogue books Devon now, they're not booking a model. They're booking authenticity. She represents something real in an industry increasingly built on filters and digital manipulation. Her face carries history. Her presence validates brands, proving they understand fashion's larger story, not just this season's trend. There's another factor. Devon proved that influence compounds. Every year she exists adds to her mythology. A 20-year-old model might be beautiful, but she can't bring 2 decades of cultural weight. When Devon appears in a campaign now, she brings every image she ever created, every designer she ever inspired, every young woman who ever tried to copy her look. The fashion industry pretends to worship youth while actually venerating icons. Devon transformed from one to the other without changing anything about herself. She just lasted long enough for fashion to realize some blueprints are permanent. Fashion keeps copying Devon Aoki because she gave them something uncopyable, herself. Every model who tries to recreate her looks misses the point. It wasn't about the clothes or even the features. It was about someone who knew exactly who she was in an industry built on transformation. The 5'4" girl who was too short, too weird, too different became the standard everyone else gets measured against. Not by changing to fit fashion, but by being so distinctly herself that fashion changed to fit her. When designers reference Devon now, they're not just pulling from her archive, they're trying to capture that confidence, that authenticity, that refusal to apologize for being exactly what she was. Her current campaigns at 40+ aren't about nostalgia. They're proof that when you create something genuine, it doesn't age. It just becomes more valuable. Every young model studying Devon's old photos looking for the secret is missing it. The secret was that there was no secret. Just someone who walked into fashion's most exclusive spaces like she belonged there, even when every measurement said she didn't. That's why everyone copies Devon Aoki. They're trying to reproduce that certainty, that presence, that ability to make your supposed weaknesses into your defining strengths. Fashion will keep trying to decode her formula, keep referencing her images, keep casting her in campaigns. Because in an industry built on constant change, Devon Aoki did something nobody else figured out how to do. She stayed herself. And that, it turns out, was revolutionary.